I always thought night shifts were easy money. Just sit in a chair, watch some cameras, and wait for the clock to run out. That was before I worked security at Willow Creek Storage. The place was old, barely used, just rows of metal storage units stretching into darkness. It sat on the outskirts of town, past the gas stations and truck stops. My job was simple. Watch the monitors, do a couple of rounds, and stay awake. Easy money, I'd scoffed to myself when I took this job. Now, a bitter irony twisted in my gut. That first night, I arrived at 11 p.m. sharp. The guy before me, Mark, looked rough. Eyes sunken, uniform wrinkled. He kept glancing at the security screens like he expected something. "Everything okay?" I asked, setting down my thermos. Mark gave a forced chuckle. "Yeah, just weird stuff sometimes. You'll see." He didn't elaborate, just grabbed his coat and left, almost like he couldn't get out fast enough. I shrugged it off and settled in. The office was tiny, just a desk, a row of old monitors, and a landline phone that never rang. The air in the office was stale and faintly of dust, the usual smell of disuse. The cameras showed grainy black and white footage of the storage units. Most were empty, nothing but cracked pavement and silent rows of metal doors. Naha. By midnight, I was starting my first patrol. I walked the rows, my flashlight beam bouncing off rusted padlocks and peeling paint. The usual low hum of the monitors and the distant highway traffic faded as I moved deeper into the facility. That's when I saw it? Unit B12. The padlock was hanging open. I hesitated. Customers weren't supposed to leave them unlocked. Company policy said to report it and move on. But something about B12 made my skin crawl. The door was open just a crack. A strange thought stuck in my mind. What if someone's in there? I should have just logged it and left. But the image of someone huddled inside, freezing, flashed in my mind. Maybe it was just some poor guy trying to stay warm. I took a breath. "Hello?" Silence. A silence deeper than the night, heavy and expectant. I nudged the door with my boot. It creaked open an inch. A gust of cold air seeped out. Not just cold, but hungry, licking at my skin and raising goosebumps. It smelled faintly of iron and something else. Something sickly sweet and unidentifiable that made my stomach churn. I raised my flashlight. The unit was empty, just bare concrete walls and a dirt-covered floor. The concrete was too smooth, too uniform, almost like polished stone. But then I saw them. Footprints. A trail of bare, human footprints leading from the back of the unit to where I stood. Ugh, my stomach tightened. This wasn't right. The air felt heavy, pressing against my skin, thick with a dread I could almost taste. My mind raced, trying to reason with what I was seeing. Someone had been here, someone barefoot, but where had they gone? A sound crackled through my radio, making me jump. Static. Then a voice, low and strained, cutting through the unnatural silence. Close the door. I spun around, shining my flashlight in every direction. No one. My pulse hammered as I reached for the door and slammed it shut. The padlock clicked back into place as if it had never been touched. Too perfectly, too precisely. I practically ran back to the office. For the next hour, I sat stiffly at the desk, staring at the monitors. B12 remained shut. Then, at 2:43 a.m., something changed. The cameras flickered. For half a second, every feed went to static. Then they came back, except for camera 6, the one facing B12. It showed nothing. Not darkness, not static, just emptiness, like the unit wasn't there. The monitors, my supposed tools of control, now felt useless, mocking. I rubbed my eyes. Maybe the camera was malfunctioning. Then the landline rang. The sound nearly made me jump out of my skin. Nobody ever called, not at this hour. I picked it up with a shaky hand. Hello? Silence. Then, you shouldn't have opened the door. Click. I dropped the phone like it burned me, my chest tightened, breath coming in shallow gasps. I turned back to the monitors. Camera 6 was still blank. But now, Unit B12 was open again. The padlock was on the ground, the door slightly ajar. And something moved inside. A shadow, not a person, not an animal, something thin and wrong. It stepped closer. The shape of a man, but stretched, its arms too long, its head tilted at an unnatural angle. It didn't step forward. It slid, like a bad recording, frames skipping, its limbs adjusting too late, as if it wasn't meant to be seen. I watched in frozen horror as it moved to the entrance. Then it turned its head, as if looking directly at the camera. The feed cut to static. I was already grabbing my keys. No, screw this job. I bolted from the office, barely remembering to lock up. As I peeled out of the parking lot, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The storage facility sat in eerie silence. Every unit closed, the office dark. But down the endless rows, standing just outside B12, something watched me leave. Its head still tilted. And as I sped away, I swore I heard the landline ring one last time. Not just a sound, but a vibration in the bones of my skull. A phantom ringing that echoed the icy dread still clinging to me.